You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast to keep a consistent knowledge base of 60% due to so many unscheduled study breaks. Sorry, Tech. I am Jason, the Angry Ginger Jedi guy. I'm broadcasting live from inside my chewed up and slobbered Wookiee Poo studios. But I'm not alone. I am with the dark and the mysterious, the robed, the one and only Matt, a.k.a. Darth Matthews.
It is a challenge every week with you. You've always got some other stuff going on, causing problems, not making it easy for you to podcast, but you persevere.
I need to kidnap Echo and just hold them like they did back in the Rebels episodes.
Oh, no.
Just whenever I need something done, put him in charge of it.
Yeah, he's got that screwdriver hand. It'll do it.
First and foremost, stab the puppy whenever it walks into the studio.
Well, Happy New Year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year.
What a new year it's going to be. Because we obviously got the Bad Batch, which we're going to talk about today, but we've got Mando Season 3 coming. We've got Ahsoka coming, maybe this summer. We don't know yet. We've got Skeleton Crew. We've got Vision Season 2. A lot of shit coming this year. So it's exciting to see what's coming in 2023 because 2022 was pretty fucking awesome.
I feel like we won't struggle with a weekly episode content.
Shouldn't be a trouble this year. That's for sure. Well, last year too. I mean, last year we had a lot. Last year they had quite a few shows, and that we get into that with our question of the week, which we'll do in a minute. But yeah. Before we forget, I wanted to thank. Speaking of our last episode, I wanted to thank our guests. Thank you to Darth Flamingus Dave for all his crappy audio.
Oh yeah, man, you poor you. If it's not him, it's me this week. I hope this turns out all right for you.
Oh, it'll turn out great. Dave's was just funny because it was all he lost his recording completely, and so we had to use your recording over Skype, and then I had to mute myself out of the feed. It was a little bit tricky, but it worked in the end.
This podcast is held together by duct tape.
Pretty much. And thanks to Neighbor Cole as well for coming back. We'll definitely have them on to preview Mando Season 3, probably sometime middle or late February. We'll do that.
Yeah.
And that's a warning, Jay, to you and me. Get on that Mando Season 1-2 rewatch because it's going to come up fast.
I'm going to start that. I think I'm going to watch it with the kids. We started watching because my son hadn't finished Book of Boba Fett. So we watched those. So now I was like, you know what? I got a little itch for it, so I'm going to go back and start from the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to mention, don't forget the Book of Boba Fett episodes with Mando in it because that's another whole part of it to preview that series. So I need to do that for sure. And I'm going to try to turn over a new leaf in 2023 and not wait till the very end to do these sorts of things. But we'll see. I might even track our question of the week and Mailbag entries, right away.
Now, if there's anything that's true in life is that you cannot change a man.
That's a good point. If you would like to find our show from a certain point askew.com, we are on Twitter at FACPApod. Email us, facpapod@gmail.com. Everybody was busy. It was the holidays. We understand you didn't get any emails off, but maybe next week.
Yeah.
We are part of the Podawan Podcast Network at Podawans on Twitter. Reminder on that giveaway. If you would like to get some entries in to win the Mandalorian Pulse Blaster, Nerf Pulse Blaster, which looks pretty cool, just send us a response to our question of the week. You get an entry, a Mailbag email, you get an entry, and if you could write us a review, and you may need to flag that for us to make sure we get it, we will give you 3 entries. And I wanted to mention too, for all the winners of our Andor giveaway, I'm working on those prizes. I have the one ready to go for Danny, the Lego hilt. I just need to send it off, so I'll try to drop that off at FedEx this week. For Depressed Kenobi and Kristen Meyer, we discovered that we are out of sizes that would work for you for our T-shirts. So I was trying to figure out what to do. I don't know if it's better for me to try to kind of set up a new source for those with our old logo, or if I should just fast track us getting a new logo, which we were planning on doing anyway. I might do the latter if that works for them. So you guys let me know, Depressed Kenobi and Kristen Meyer. Would you rather have the old logo or the new logo? Because we are working on a new one.
Well, I mean, we do have T-shirts. They're just not the right size. But what do I have? An extra large?
You have a large and an extra large, and they need a small and a medium.
Yeah, but see, here's what we're thinking. Here's what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking of Chris and not Kristen. So we send the extra large, and she can wear it as a night-night shirt.
Oh, okay.
But then, there's wiggle room for him to get all up in there too.
There you go. That could work.
He can wear Kristen like a tauntaun.
You guys let me know what you want to do there. But I will definitely get off those shirts as soon as possible.
You're going to get off on those shirts?
I'm going to get off all over those shirts. They're going to be game-worn shirts, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Clone Force 99 all over those shirts.
Yeah, I almost said stupid joke. Go ahead.
All right, on the show today, we got a question of the week. We got your favorite Star Wars characters from 2022. In the news, we've got Lindelof film starting in April. Hera casting for Ahsoka series, or as we say on the show in the correct way, Ashoka. And then there's a little wrap-up here. We'll talk about Rian Johnson, his Star Wars series. And real quick, did you watch The Glass Onion, and did you like it?
I have not watched it, no.
Did you read Ben Shapiro's write-up about it?
Oh, God. I can only imagine.
That knob apparently has never watched a whodunit mystery ever, because he was all pissed off about freaking misdirections and he's just and I'm like you idiot.
Oh, with that voice too, it makes it so much more difficult to listen to.
I didn't hear him. I just saw his tweet about it, so I had to write him back and let him know that he's a moron.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we've got in the show, and then we're going to go into our Bad Batch episodes 1, Spoils of War, and 2, Ruins of War. We're going to discuss that. But first, we got the question of the week, which I missed out on. So this is probably something that you wrote out, sent out to the group.
Yes, I think you and I spoke about it, and you were busy and frantic with all the stuff going on over at your house. So I'm like, I'm just going to pull something out. And as I just mentioned, 2022, huge year for Star Wars. A lot of series. So I put out a question. Who from those 4 big series was your favorite character, new or old? So Book of Boba, Kenobi, Andor, and Tales of the Jedi, and why? And we got a pretty good response. We got 7 answers this week. And I was going to ask you, given that question, do you have any that come to mind for you before we share our listeners' thoughts?
I mean, not a new character, but I'm a huge fan of Mon Mothma. So shout out Mon Mothma. But no, I thought Luthen was great.
Yes.
We went into that show who was this mysterious character, and he held up every end of that. And not only that, but he was, whether he's a Jedi or not, he's just an awesome character all around. Really looking forward to seeing more of that character. And I'm guessing sometime in season 2 he bites the big bullet, takes the lightsaber to the chest, because as far as we know, he's not around after that. So that's unfortunate. True. But I know that's probably the best character to me. And then I liked in Tales of the Jedi, I liked getting some background on Dooku.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I was thinking Dooku for that. I agree with as far as Andor goes, Luthen, Kino was a great character. I liked Marva a lot. All 3 of those characters were really good and had really great monologues in that series. I was thinking about Kenobi. I liked Reva a lot, and I also liked Roken. I liked O'Shea Jackson Jr. I kind of liked his character.
Yeah.
And then Book of Boba, shout out to Neighbor Cole. I did like Garsa Fwip quite a lot.
Oh, yes.
And Fennec Shand, it was cool to see a lot of her in that series as well. So just so many great characters, new and old.
Agreed.
So here are some of the answers we got. First up is Ice, says, Fennec Shand is the definition of ride or die.
True.
I need more Fennec in 2023. I don't care how y'all do it either. I think we will see more Fennec in 2023, whether we see her pop up in Mando or one of the, maybe in Bad Batch this season, possibly, I think we're going to see her at some point.
Yeah. I mean, there's even in what we've seen a little bit of the Mando, and we didn't get the Christmas trailer that the internet was blowing up about, but I would think that even if there's not going to be a second season of Book of Boba Fett, which I would guess that there's going to be, that they'll intertwine just like they did with Mando. Even if he doesn't get his own episode, standalone or something, he'll be in the show.
I think you're
with
right.
him comes Fennec.
Yep, so. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Next up is Wheezy McWinded Pants. Great name.
Dude, I fucking read this and I laughed when I was looking through this list. I was like, who is Wheezy McWinded Pants?
They say Marva Andor for starting a rebellion after death. Not easy to do. Fucking
That's
great.
True.
Left that sweet message behind, and then they used her body, the brick body, to smash people's faces.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
gotta like that. Mike Laybourne chimes in. Time Grappler for lots of reasons, but mostly because he was played by Neil Bell, proving the nominative determination hypothesis. Do you know what that is?
I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about.
It's like when your name essentially bleeds into what you end up doing. So the guy's name is Bell, and he serves in a role as the time grappler, literally ringing the bell.
That's like his role. That's the name of him, was the time.
The actor is Neil Bell.
Right, but the alarm clock guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Time grappler. That's the time grappler. Yes. Yeah. Depressed Kenobi. I feel like I feel like y'all might possibly know who my fave is by now. She later said Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan. Yeah, figured that. Mike Laybourne again. Also Reva. I don't think the show did anyone any favors, but her character was definitely interesting. Oh, a little jab at the Kenobi series there.
Yeah, like it is sad to say, like if Kenobi was the only thing we got this year, I don't think it would stand out as like, oh, because I mean, even my complaints, and I love the volume probably more than most, but it was definitely something that I think short-handed that show.
Yeah,
which we've talked about. But like overall, like I'm not upset with what they did with Kenobi at all.
No. I like the series. I think it felt a little rushed in that I think you could have done a lot more. There was a lot more to go on there than 6 episodes. So it went by really fast. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad that we got it, and it was great to see Ewan, and there were a lot of great performances in that show. But you're right. I think the other thing is the fact that we've seen so much behind the scenes stuff on the volume, you can almost look for the stuff now. You know what I mean? Like where, well, I know that's not really that behind them or whatever, even though you know that that's true of most movies you watch. But like for some reason, it seemed like in that particular show, I think we were also hyper focused on it for some reason. I don't know why, but it really
I don't know either.
Became more noticeable, especially like when they're in the like the hideout area where Vader comes in later and like tries to pull the ship back and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, right.
That felt a little bit like, God, I can almost see them in a room.
Everything
right now.
felt contained.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Whereas Mando, I think, has done a better job of making it feel more expansive, even though it is all done with the volume. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree.
Michaela from Jar Jar Thinks, one of our sister Podawan Podcast Network pods. She says, young Leia was my favorite from this year. I just think she absolutely killed it, and Carrie would have been proud. I think Carrie would have been proud.
Uh-huh. She is proud.
I thought she did a great job.
I was visited by Carrie last night. Like Ghostbusters in the firehouse. So she's proud.
There you go. Good to know. And then finally, Mike Laybourne again, because he's just stuffing the box again. Major Portagaz. His report demanding sector reassigning shithousery was fun to watch. He's counting the days until retirement and really deserves his own show. His own show.
I have to tell you, like after reading this, immediately I got Spy Game. So now I want a movie or a series with fucking Portagaz. How do you say his name?
Portagaz.
Yeah, him in the role of like Robert Redford, just days from retirement, and then Cyril is the Brad Pitt who gets captured, and he has to do everything he can to get him out and spend his retirement on him. Yeah.
I fucking love that movie, by the way.
I do too.
I could watch every time it's on.
That's what I do. It's one of those I've never bought because it's just it's a treat every time it's on. No matter what part, I watch it till the end. I love that movie.
And Stephen Delane is so freaking good as that dude, the Weasley like CIA guy trying to kind of like catch him in the act.
Yeah.
Yes, he's so fucking good in that. God. Anyway. All right. Well, that was it for Question of the Week. We will put out another one this week, and I hope you guys answer. You do get entries for that. But thanks, everybody, for chiming in.
And we are back to weekly as long as we've got episodes to do, right? So we'll let them know that. So every week you can put new stuff in. We want to hear from you. And I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have like bonus. Now, when we have Mando, are we just going to cover both in an episode? Are we going to do twos? What are we going to do? How are we going to do this?
That's a good question because they come out the same day.
Okay.
I was thinking we would just do both in the same episode and just have it be one episode, but maybe easier for our recording schedule. But you let me know because you are the one with the trickier schedule. I'm
happy to do whatever the audience wants.
You guys let us know. You want separate episodes? You want one episode? I think it's probably better to just do it all as one, but we'll
Mike Laybourne right now is just like taking his clothes off. Oh my God, 2 a week? He's getting ready to stuff that box.
There you go. Stuff the box. All right. News. Mm-hmm. So a few items here. Hot new rumors about Damon Lindelof's film being very close to going into production.
I would just like to say that I told you.
Yeah? You knew this was coming?
Then wasn't that like my prediction was this was the first one to go up, like because we'd heard that he was hanging out in that writer's cafeteria on studio. Like this was a secret that was hard to keep, and it seems to be the one we've been hearing about the most. So I just thought this one's going into production like immediately. They hired that director right away. Like they're moving. Yeah,
because the other ones have all just been really small little speculative bits, you know, like Waititi and Feige and all the other ones, Levy.
They're like
all
dream
those
projects. Like everyone's been hired to do a Star Wars movie, but no one's really working on a Star Wars movie.
Right. The most recent news that had any bite to it was Patty Jenkins saying, like, now that Wonder Woman's gone, she's more focused on doing the Star Wars. But that one sounded like that had a lot of script work to be done before they even think about going into production. So this makes total sense. They're saying it could happen as soon as April. Now, if it happens in April, what does that mean for release? Like, you would think, oh, well, if they start filming in April, potentially that could be Christmas 2024. But I'm guessing this is the 2025 one, and but that's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2.5 years.
Right, but I don't know if they're caught up with the VX work on production houses, like at post production.
Oh,
so maybe they're putting that into effect. Like you're right, they probably could release a little earlier, but right now, they've got the date for 2025 held. But I mean, if they get another one rolling soon, then why not release early and get us one every year starting 2024?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, they can always change those dates. They're just thrown out there as as some sort of marker. I think we'll have a better idea. I mean, April's really interesting because Star Wars Celebration in London is happening in April. Right. So by that time, if they are in production, indeed, you would think there would be some sort of announcement that's in the works, you would think. But I'm sure we'll hear more before then anyway.
I think it's going to come down to, like, where's Cameron at with Avatar 3 in the next year? He doesn't usually make a release date. He doesn't make the next 3 release dates. So, I mean, that because he's every other year for like the next 5 years for the next 3 movies. So Star Wars was the Christmas in between each Avatar movie, so they could swap those.
Yeah, they could, or not have to do it during the Christmas season. But that seems to be that's the money zone when they want to do it.
Right.
Did you see that thing? I think I saw a tweet about it. We're just talking about James Cameron and how he had like some ridiculous 9-hour cut of Avatar 3 or something, and he wanted to do the visual effects for all of it before he decided to edit it back down. Like, what?
I don't know who fucking wrote that, but that's
that's insanity.
No, if anything, they would do, because they do. You've seen how they do like the Marvel movies. Almost every movie is done previs before. It's all like kind of animated, CGI animated, and then they shoot it to look like that, and then so they already know what the fucking movie's going to look like. It just doesn't have the beautiful effects in it. So there's no way in hell Cameron's not that fucking stupid to be like, I want to animate, I want a finished 9-hour movie and then I'll edit it.
Right.
Who's going to give him that?
The 9 hours thing doesn't surprise me. I could see him doing that.
Oh, I could see. You're right. Yes.
That was it for that. Unless you had anything else on the Lindelof project.
No, I'm just excited for it. Like, get these things moving along.
Yeah, it's been so long. Let's go to the goddamn theater and see a Star Wars movie, please.
And even in one of the articles, I'm not sure what you read, but they talked about that writer's room again, with Filoni being involved as well as a few other people. But the fact that like this is left as both a standalone and open to sequels. Right. So I see, like, come on. You don't get these people involved to be like, well, we're just going to leave this one alone.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, is it's still the expected timeline as kind of post-sequel trilogy.
Yes.
That they said that there would likely be new leads, but that there would be some crossover with the old sequel characters. And of course, there's all those rumors that have been running around because of Daisy Ridley, posting pictures at Lucasfilm and shit like that. So
right. Yep.
You can see that happening. So another hot rumor is that Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who we know is going to be in Ahsoka. The rumor is she's going to be playing Hera. And I could certainly see that. It also makes me wonder, like, if that's the case, well, in general, are we going to see a bit of Ahsoka cast show up in Mando? Like, how much of that are we going to see as a tease? Because they love to have, especially when it's a new series, they love to have some sort of tease of a character in one series to kind of give you that little taste of what you're going to get, so that you jump in whole hog on that new series when it comes out.
I didn't think about that. I don't know how they would squeeze that in, and I don't know what the
Sabine, that would be your tying in, because the Mando thing,
the Mandalorian, right? Yeah,
I could see that.
That's true. Yeah, and it is running the same timeline too, because like the first time we saw Ahsoka, I mean that was the big line, was where's Admiral Thrawn?
Yep.
So we know that she's looking, so it would just continue from there. So yeah, I guess there's potential to that.
Yeah, I could see them introducing Sabine, even if for a bit role in Mando. And there's also been a lot of rumors floating around about what is happening in the show. And I saw one. I don't want to get into too many of them because they're all over the place.
Yes.
But there was one talking about how that they think that the World Between Worlds is going to be involved.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's talking about that being involved, which is from Star Wars Rebels originally, and how like they were going to show Ahsoka at different ages.
Yes.
I get real hesitant with this. I don't know how you feel about the World Between Worlds. Like that episode was freaking cool as shit, and I loved what they showed us. But once you start like getting involved with like almost kind of a time travel-y situation, or worse, one of my probably biggest beasts with Marvel, the whole like multiverse situation.
Yes.
It becomes too much. It's like it becomes too crazy, and you can do any fucking thing you want to do, and it kind of like it almost makes it like there's no rules. Not that there need to be rules, but it makes it harder to follow the story when it's like, oh, that's just a different universe, or oh, that's a different timeline. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think they have the balls to be like, they'll pull young Luke into like move him up so that way they can, oh look, we've got Luke we can do things with. And like,
they could. I mean, shit. There's all things are on the table when you start doing that stuff, and that's why I liked when that happened in Rebels, and then the whole fucking thing sunk into the earth and was like,
right, they
done.
destroyed it.
Yes.
But I mean, we saw all the windows, and so we know there's more access points, right?
Right.
So I mean, that's what she has to do. And we see the shot of like, there's that still of her on the cylinder cement, look like she dropped down into a room. Mm-hmm. Is that what she's looking for? I don't know. What's the point of going into the world of worlds though, right? Like, what's her point? She knows it's not, the only thing she could do is do the same as she did, or Ezra did for her, and save her, so she could pull Ezra out before he gets lost with Thrawn.
True. Or I think what one of the speculations was that is Ahsoka still have it deep down in her back of her mind that she wants to save Anakin, and she feels like she can go back to a point where she can be the one who saves him in some particular instance, and then she's going to realize that just is the way it was meant to be. You can't change that, much like she showed Ezra.
I do like that idea if they're going to do, because I'm fine with a flashback if that's what we get, but it would be interesting to get something where she goes, like she has the knowledge she has now to go back and communicate with him.
Yeah.
So
because we know he's going to be in there somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know.
So but I know what you're saying. Like, and it does seem to be like the in thing right now. Like DC's doing it with Flash, the multiverse. You know, all of Marvel's Phase 4 is multiverse, or Phase 4, 3, 4 related. Yeah. So I mean, they're going to continue with that. So like, if it is the thing to do, maybe they're just going to do it. But that's the one thing I've always liked about Star Wars is, you know, you just keep going. There is no redos or
right, and don't get me wrong, I love science fiction movies that are like time travel related, even though it can become a big mind fuck. But the multiverse thing really fucks me up because it just feels like it just feels so busy. There's just too much going on. There's too many possibilities. There's too many like things you can throw in that just totally change exactly. I don't know. For me, it's just I struggle with that. That's the biggest reason I struggle with the Marvel stuff now is that thing.
So you would prefer not to have that in it at all?
The multiverse?
No, the world
between worlds.
Yes.
I think so. I think I would leave it where it is. Now, granted, if it shows up and they do it in a cool way, I'm sure I'm gonna fucking love it. But at the same time, I love what they did with Rebels, and I'm like, good, let's leave it there. Like it was cool if they showed that, but like I don't want to dive too much into that stuff.
Maybe they'll just show us a live action version of that.
And it could be that they're just showing that sequence. Maybe that's what it is. That's a good point. Maybe it's a look back to show her ties to Ezra and how all that stuff happened.
Right, because there's so many people that don't watch the animated stuff.
Could be.
So it's a way to kind of show, you know, from a certain point of skew, they could do it.
That's right. Well, and it was cool because in the scene when he's walking around, or she is, I can't remember which now, all the voices you hear and all the happening in the background was a really cool effect.
Yes.
But again, exactly. I'm nervous they could abuse that. That's my concern there.
That's definitely something they could shoot in the volume.
That is something they could 100% shoot in the volume. That's made for the volume.
Yeah.
Finally, there was an interview recently with Rian Johnson talking to the Hollywood Reporter, and he was asked about Star Wars, and he had a couple interesting things to say. First, he said he'd literally do anything Star Wars. And when he was asked about kind of like the rumored trilogy and all that kind of thing, and if he'd be interested in doing a series, he said, quote, "If I had an idea that I was excited about that worked better as a show than a movie, I'd do it that way. I keep getting together with Kathy and having conversations. Who knows? Making The Last Jedi was the best experience of my life, so I should be so lucky." Now, do we want to share what Neighbor Cole's reaction was when you shared that tweet?
I don't remember what it was.
You shared it and it said Rian Johnson could potentially be open to doing a series, and I think he wrote, "Fuck off." He's still mad about Cole. The Last Jedi.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he'll ever turn around on that.
Did you hear Rian Johnson on Mark Maron recently? He was on there.
No, I didn't listen to that.
It's good. You get an appreciation for him and what he was trying to do. Because it's funny because Maron's like, I'm not a Star Wars guy. Are you a Star Wars guy? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm a huge Star Wars guy. Like that's, I love the Star Wars universe. He says again there how much like that's the best experience he's ever had is making that movie.
Yeah. Okay. He
talks about how when he was talking to Kathy before making the movie, how she literally said to him like, we want you to make The Empire Strikes Back. Those words in some order of this trilogy. And so he looked at it that way, I think, and like, you need to feel like Empire made you feel kind of uncomfortable. Yes. So I want to make people feel uncomfortable. Now, some could say, well, it made me feel uncomfortable in certain ways because they didn't like certain things about it.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I'm trying to come more and more around in The Last Jedi to be like, there's things I don't like about it, and that's just the way it's going to be. It's kind of like with the prequels. There's things I don't like about them.
Yep.
It's just the way it's going to be. Like, let's focus on the things that we got that were cool in that movie, and that's what I'm trying to do. But you could tell he has a huge passion for Star Wars. So having him do another project would make a lot of sense.
I think he did more good than he did bad, and yes, I think for him to have an empty slate, and I've said it a million times, I think would be the best thing for him to do.
I agree.
So if it comes to us, we greenlight his trilogy.
We greenlight the trilogy or the series, whichever one he wants to do.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Let's talk Bad Batch. By the way, did everybody but us get the first 14 episodes to preview? Because all I'm seeing right now are stories of people going, here's a spoiler-free preview of the first 14 episodes.
Yes.
I'm not looking at I'm not reading your article. I'm sorry.
I even tweeted out, I was like, how do I get on this list? How do I get us on this list? It's ridiculous how many podcasts I've seen that I've never heard of. You know, and I'll look at their follower base, and I mean, they don't have a ton of followers, a couple thousand, but
maybe it's better that we don't get it that early look because that makes us, more of the common man podcast for Star Wars. We're just watching along with everybody.
We're the people's podcast. We're in the slums just like you, paying our $7.99 Disney Plus a month price so we can watch it and preview it. Just along with you, the audience.
Unless you got that bundle, then you're paying more. But you got Hulu and the ESPN Plus too. So
that's true.
I'll get that going for us. What were your overall thoughts kicking off this season?
I liked they just kind of got right into it. I like that. It wasn't too much of the what's going on, full story wise, but you got a tease of them still having to do their missions. They go on a mission, and it wasn't just it was a two-parter. The animation was fucking great.
Yeah, it looked really
opened
good.
up. Like I watched it on it was just a TV I have in my room, but then I was checking out parts on my phone afterwards, and it's so much better looking on my phone. Really? It's like the colors really popped on the phone than it did. It's not the greatest fucking widescreen TV I got in my room, so that's probably why. But it seemed a little muted. But on my phone, it was it's gorgeous. I think they upped the ante again. But they really like when it gets bright, like the island and the water, like all the stuff they were doing there. That show really pops.
It does, and the music was great again too.
Yes.
I thought all that was good. It is a different experience than it was for season 1 because season 1 they gave us this massive episode that had so much shit that happened in it and really set the table for all the storylines we were going to go into. This was very much like hey, let's catch you up on where they are since they escaped Camino. They're still just doing jobs for Sid and surviving, and probably the most growth would be by Omega because she looks a little bit older and she looks like she's a little more seasoned now. She can take care of herself a little bit better. The only really major nod to the overall overarching storyline was really at the end when we saw that fucking prick Rampart. That was kind of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was really just kind of an in the moment couple of episodes. And I mean, I get that they're wanting to show us how hey, they're figuring out how just running around and doing these jobs is not a long term solution. They can only do this for so long.
Right.
It becomes kind of a monotonous lifestyle, and it kind of avoids the bigger things that are happening to people. Echo is kind of the voice of reason of sorts to be
he really is in this one. Like there's a couple of times where he really chimed in as there has to, they got to pick. I mean, they picked a side, but there's something more they should be doing than just running and gunning.
Right. And I think you get a lot of that in the storyline on Sereno, where that guy, Romar is essentially kind of opening their eyes to that, hey, you guys are running around doing all this shit. And I mean, even Omega says it at one point when Echo's talking about can't remember what the conversation is, but Omega's kind of like, well, how are we different? We're just going around and doing all these jobs and getting all this treasure, essentially.
It depends on what you do with the money.
Yeah, it depends on what you do. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that Romar character was kind of like illustrating for them, like, hey, you guys are doing all this stuff. You're not much different than the Empire. And also, you're not taking into account how all this stuff has affected real people. And all this stuff you're going out and collecting is actually somebody else's stuff. That they stole. So just so you know, you're not like this righteous crew that you think you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was good. It kind of set the table for that. So it's almost like, okay, well, we went back to doing what we were doing just to survive and trying to lay low. But now clearly something's on the horizon that they're going to have to change. So getting into episode 1.
Yes.
Obviously, like you said, we just kind of kick off with what we saw in the trailers. They're getting chased by crabs.
Big ass crabs.
Big ass crabs. Omega's become quite good with the bow. She's looking pretty handy. And then once they get back to Ord Mantell, I love, first of all, that AZ is the fucking server.
Yes. And he has to introduce himself. I'm like, we know.
We know who you are. Oh, I love that. But they bring in that package and that's when we meet Fee Genoa, a.k.a. Wanda Sykes, and who's some sort of buddy of Sid's and who apparently has given her, was on that job, and that's who they were retrieving it for, but also who was giving her the intel for the next job.
What was your impression on her? I got the impression like she was like one step above Sid in intel and how things move around. It was almost like Sid gets her information and her missions and what's available from her.
It could be, or she's one of her informants or whatever, but I think she said she was a pirate, so...
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
she's getting.
But she was like with her sitting behind her desk with her feet kicked up and Sid allowing it. Seemed to me like that was a display of power.
Yeah, that could be. I think it also is the fact that she's probably out in the world collecting all this information and doing all these things, whereas Sid is just like home base all the time. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I mean, Sid doesn't really have the body for running and gunning.
No, but she's strong as fuck. Remember her in that she was doing the like pumping thing? That's her and Wrecker.
That's right.
It's shared with them that the next job is going to Castle Sereno, which is Dooku's former home, which we actually got a good taste of in the Clone Wars. Like for instance, when your gal Asajj went there to kill him.
Yep. Well, that's the one room they end up in. That's the room they had the big fight in, right?
Yeah, that's like his office essentially.
Where he was like in his silk PJs.
Oh yeah, those fucking silk PJs. I think he was like blinded and he was still fighting them off. Yep. Yeah. I think that was the storyline that led up to how Mother Talzin got like him to take on a Savage Opress as an apprentice. Like that was like, you need help. Like you need somebody to protect you because people are coming for you, Yeah. Kind of make him paranoid.
Yes.
The job is to go in and get some of his war chests, which I guess the Empire has been taking quite a lot of. And they're like, well, this is too dangerous. Of course, Hunter, very hesitant. This is too dangerous. And the rest and Sid's basically saying like, how long are you going to keep doing these little teeny jobs? You do this job, you don't have to worry about shit anymore.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, that's what she's claiming. And Echo, once they get on the ship, continues to kind of like what we were talking about. There's more we could be doing. But we're just doing the same shit over and over and over. And I know we're protecting Omega by laying low. And he kind of makes a comment about Omega and like how that's kind of directed them on what they do, which she overhears, and we get that later. She comes back around on that later.
Well, they're really just surviving right now. They're not living.
Right. And I mean, we're talking months and months go by, and it's like, how long can you continue to do that? And it seems like Hunter is so much about laying low, protecting Omega. That's his whole focus. Whereas Echo's like, feels the cause to do something more. So they arrive on Sereno and find that the city has been destroyed. Really cool shot of that city just totally devastated. And I like that they're showing shit like that. This is more evidence of just how much the Empire is absolutely fucking annihilating shit and wiping people's life.
Well, I mean, we see it first episode of Andor.
Yep.
We see, he mentions, she's like, well, what happened here? And he says they did the same thing they did to Camino. So like, this is like their calling card. Right,
exactly. And then so they don't arrive a moment too soon because the war chest is actively being moved.
Yes.
By these huge, freighters, and it just looks like a bunch of railroad cars, box cars. So they find these crates that are loaded with jewels and gold, but then the clone troopers get alerted. I love that we've got what's the guy's name? Captain Wilco. Is the dude who kind of runs it. And it was funny because I heard that, and of course, When I hear Wilco, I think of the band Wilco. And they actually had they had an album called Star Wars. I was like, is this
Really?
it has nothing to do with Star Wars. They just named it Star Wars. I was like, is this a reverse little nod back to them?
Just maybe.
I don't know. I thought that was a funny coincidence. But yeah, the clone troopers are alerted to their presence, and then Hunter does that like diversion, and all shit starts going crazy, and then essentially Wrecker and Hunter get out.
I like the way they split them up in this episode. It was interesting to see.
We haven't seen that before.
With Omega, with Tech and Echo. Also, this is a very both episodes. I mean, we complained quite a bit that Echo didn't have much to say or do. What was his part of the team? But he's really kind of. I mean, I would say he was the voice of the 2 episodes.
He was. He's getting a lot of lines. It's like they heard us.
Yeah.
But he's getting a lot of lines, and he's having a huge influence on what they do. But you're right. I don't know that we've ever seen it where like Hunter and Wrecker were together, just the 2 of them, and then the rest of the crew. So it's cool
how
to see
strong is Wrecker? Like, can we get like a max out point on this guy? Because he can just lift anything.
It's rare you hear him like go, ugh! Like, but every now and again. But normally it's just like he just lifts up this massive fucking crate over his shoulder like it's no big deal.
They show the one chest. It's just filled with like, it look like gold bars or whatever. And then he just heaves it over his shoulder and starts running with it.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised he didn't take both.
Right.
So as they're sitting there watching, they get locked in. Echo, Tech, and Omega get locked into one of the containers. By the way, we're doing this A-team shit again. We're just stunning. Like, are they ever just gonna? They're getting shot at by the clone troopers.
Yep.
They're literally still like so because they hated the Regs really back on Camino, but they still have this like kinship to them because they're brothers.
That's true.
And so they're
I think so.
I think that's what it is because they keep stunning these motherfuckers.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe it's meant to show him not being brutal. Is that what?
Is that going to change when they start switching over to the conscripts? When it's just Jeffrey in a fucking stormtrooper outfit? He's like, just shoot that
Jeffrey.
fucker.
That's not one of our brothers. That's just Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Kill that dude. I thought maybe it was some sort of Echo guilt trip. He just constantly reminds him, hey, we all came from the same place.
Oh, right.
Stun him. So while Tech and Echo and Omega are looking for an escape pod, Hunter and Wrecker end up in that main building. That's what you're talking about, where they're in like Dooku's old office, and they essentially like trigger this lift that goes down, and they just fucking plummet. And they're like, okay, what happened there? and then in the meantime, the Tech or Omega, who's been doing her studying, I like your reference at the top of the show, no study breaks. She's been studying every possible Imperial, ship, and she's like, "Hey, these freighters, their cars have like thrusters, so that if they get dropped, they essentially engage these thrusters for a soft landing." And Tech's like, "Yeah, good point." So they do that, and then they just start falling, and it's like end of episode. Could you imagine if that was just the first episode? And they were like, "Next week."
I mean, right when it ended, I was like, "Well, that's why they released 2 at once." The fucking fans would have been up in arms.
I think they would have.
But that was such a 1980s, like, you're right, A-team, like, ending.
Yeah.
Like, to be continued.
Kind of.
Like, what the it was just like, falling from the sky, we'll just end it here.
It was strange. It totally, like you said, there's no way they do that if they don't show 2 episodes together.
Yeah.
So that pick up in episode 2, they're falling, and the thrusters engage, and they land, but they're on like a fucking cliff's edge, and it like topples down the mountainside, which at one point causes a container inside to smash Tech in the leg, which, hey, at least he wasn't Nemec. At least he didn't get the fucking chest smashed.
Oh, yeah,
the death shot.
What do you say? I was hit with 150
kilograms of
pressure on my femur. So, no, I'm not all right.
I love the immediate diagnosis, too. My left femur is broken.
Yes.
Oh, and then in the meantime, Hunter and Wrecker are trying to get back to the Marauder, and essentially Wilco like is aware of them and tries to go after them to kind of,
they're being chased through the city.
Exactly.
The torn city, yeah.
So Tech, Echo, and Omega run into this guy, Romar, who I mentioned earlier, and he takes him back to his pad, kind of by their suggestion. Omega still got her mind set on the treasure. And you can kind of see why.
Yes.
You know that she's heard that comment earlier, but she's real focused on the treasure. And that's when Romar is getting all surly about it and explaining how, like, what we talked about earlier. Like, you guys are after this treasure. It's not even yours. It was ours. And they're like, oh, well, we'll split it with you. And he's like, I don't even fucking want the treasure, man.
Right.
Like, you guys don't understand what's happening.
All off the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, just go away. Let us go back to our lives. While Wrecker and Hunter are kind of trying to make their way to the Marauder, they're boxed in that city, and they find these separatist tanks that don't work. And then so Wrecker's just like, I'm just going to turn myself into a tank.
Yes. Fucking just picks up the cannon.
And just starts blasting the fuck out of people.
I'm waiting to see, like, he's going to have AZ, or is it AZ or EZ? The
AZ.
droid. He's going to have it, like, weld, like, onto his armor. So he's just going to be like Galvatron.
He should.
You know, he's just like, boom.
It's clearly not heavy.
There's barely kickback when he fucking shoots it.
Oh, there's no recoil. Did you see him in the ship afterward, like just admiring it, like almost rubbing it?
Yes.
Like, this is awesome.
He's petting it. He's like, I'm taking you to bed tonight.
So then Omega runs off, like those kids do, tries to get the loot from the container. Kids always running. And so Echo goes after her just before some troopers arrive and pin them down inside the container.
Yes.
Meanwhile, so just to reiterate, I think at one point we talked about this, like who's your favorite of the Bad Batch?
Yeah.
I think mine has always been Tech, and it's just reinforced with this episode. This badass motherfucker has a broken leg and is like, you know what? I'll just walk it off. I'm going to walk back all the way to the container on my own. And Romar's like, I don't think you're up for it. He's like, I got it.
Yep. Goes
Goes back there, takes out the fucking troopers, takes them all out, essentially, with that gun. And then later, when they send in, the troopers to shoot at them from the ship, he takes them down and then takes out 2 speeder bikes. Tech is the fucking man.
Yeah, he had a moment to shine in this one, for sure.
I think he did. He is just dominating this episode. So
I think Wrecker's my favorite. I just love
you do like Wrecker. You like doing that voice.
I do.
There is a moment, by the way, where when the container starts to shift and like the jewels that Omega has picked up spill out.
The 800 pounds of jewels in her backpack
right,
that is
there's
impossible
no way
for her to carry.
I know, when she first went down there, I was like, how does she expect to get this shit out of there?
Right.
There's this like Indiana Jones Last Crusade moment. Like, I can reach it. I can get it. Indiana.
Oh, yes.
Go. It's that whole thing.
Uh-huh. It really was.
And then at that moment, while she's reaching for it, she's like, I have to get it because I heard what you said to Hunter. That like your life is what it is because of me. I want you guys to get all this money. And he's like, you could tell, just went right into Echo, like, oh, you heard that?
Yeah.
She says, you don't have a normal life because of me. That's what she says. And he's just like, you got to let it go. Like I said, Romar shows up to help Tech. They are able to rescue Omega and Echo, get them back up. And then we have this touching moment later where Echo tells Omega, like, if it wasn't for you, we would have probably ended up with the Empire or dead, essentially. So
right.
like you've kind of saved our lives by us taking care of you. So there's this nice little moment with them.
Well, I think that was like some of Echo's struggle throughout the episode is like, we talked about is, all we're doing is surviving. Like, what is our meaning? And, he realizes, I think, to her, but there's still more, they have to take care of her, but also they can't just keep surviving. Like, they got to end the Empire or help out with that. Yeah,
right. Like you said, I think she was taking it as an either or, and he's not. He's saying that's just a piece of this. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
And then we get this final scene with Captain Wilco explaining to Admiral Cuntface that he did in fact see the Clone Force 99, and he's not going to falsify his reports. You knew the second he said that. The curtains.
So where does this put him in the ranks of shitbags now?
God, he's way up there, man.
Yeah, there's what we got. We've got Hux. We've got what was shithead's name in Rebels with the mutt chops.
Oh, well, yeah, but he turned out good though later.
Right,
Callus?
But he was a shitbag for quite some time.
He was a shitbag for quite some time. Yes.
Yeah. But this guy doesn't seem like he's full. He's in the same class as Deirdre.
I agree. He's just brutal, and he's like, he does not want to look bad in Tarkin's eyes. He's so I can't wait for this guy to die. He has to die.
Fucking assassinates one of his what is he, commander?
Yeah. Just fucking shoots him because he doesn't want to get found out.
Yep.
So that was interesting. That was kind of the biggest, like I said, the biggest like overarching storyline was that that they're still after that he thought Clone Force 99 was gone. Realizes, okay, they're not, so I'm gonna have to cover up my tracks here because I don't want to look like an idiot.
So this is where Crosshairs comes in then, right?
I think so. Yeah, I was gonna get into what's next. Real quick fun fact for you. Do you know who did the voice of Romar?
It sounded familiar, but I didn't look it up.
Hector Elizondo. Do you know him? Fucking long time actor.
Yeah.
He's been in like everything. Like he was in Pretty Woman. He was in.
He's
like
really good friends with Gary Marshall. So he's been in all of Gary Marshall's movies, but he was in wasn't he in Law and Order or something? And then I just saw him in something recently. I was like, God, that dude's still acting?
He's like in his 80s somewhere, but he's been around forever. He's always just kind of been this character actor that shows. He was the coach in Necessary Roughness, a very, very fine film.
Yeah. Offsides.
What? Well, yeah. Once you hear that, or once you see that name associated at the end of the credits, I was like, oh, totally. Like, because at the time you're thinking that voice sounds, slightly familiar. I do like that they pull in randoms like that.
I do too.
Yeah. So what's next? We talked about how these 2 episodes were kind of meant to just catch us up and show us that they're stuck in this place and they need to change. Something needs to change, and Echo is going to continue to drive them to do that. I would think we're going to see the episode or the Empire in the next episode. The episode title is The Solitary Clone, so you would think that's Crosshair.
Yes.
So I'm assuming we're going to get a catch up with him and see where he is, what he's doing. I don't know if I'm sure we'll see Fuckstick Admiral Rampart.
It'll be interesting to see where Crosshair is with this whole thing, because he was left for dead on Camino. So where's his allegiance? Is he a little bit skeptical of their allegiance toward him? So I feel like he's probably mentally, grappling with a few things.
Everything he has shared, everything we saw of him in the trailers, he's not voicing that, but I think you're going to get some internal dialogue or some sort of based on the way he reacts to things. You're going to see that there's something burning inside of him because he knows that the Empire doesn't necessarily have his back,
Right.
So I'm glad. I'm excited for that. So much of this stuff it's great to see the Empire in action. And so that's why I'm thinking we're going to get some of that. I don't think we're going to get any. Well, maybe. I'm hoping to get a little bit more of the overarching storyline stuff. Like at some point they're going to have to talk about Nalase and that Mount Tantus stuff we saw at the end of season 1, but I think they might save that for a bit.
I feel like that's probably going to build toward the back half of the season.
Maybe they give us a taste of it in that mid-season double episode thing.
Yeah,
that could be.
And then the bigger story starts to open up again.
Yeah,
pushing a little forward with things, but yeah, we're still going to do some catch up. And, they introduced Wanda Sykes' character for a reason, so that's probably going to come into play again real quick. And then, moving forward, it can't just keep being missions of the week, so something's got to put them into play into something a little bit more solid as well.
I would think so. I mean, we saw in some of the stuff in the trailers, we see they go to Kashyyyk at some point, it looked like. Because there's some Wookiee action. We know they meet up with Gungi, that Jedi user. There's a lot of people. There was a big play in the trailer of there's more people out there that we need to help, much like Echo has said. So I think you're going to meet a lot more of those people, whether that's from the Empire meeting them and treating them like shit, or the Bad Batch meeting them and trying to assist them.
Well, we have so many episodes this season. We're going to have AZ go to a car wash. A full episode of him going to find fruit or some shit.
Oh God, I hope we don't have one of those episodes. You need to go find the dessert topping for this,
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see that quite that, but I'm looking forward to it. It was good to have it back. It's good to have an animation series back.
I agree, but I want the droid on the ship though. I don't want him hanging out in the fucking bar serving. He used to be part of the team.
He was one of the MVPs of the first season.
Yes.
Absolutely. So he should get a little more play.
Yeah. He's like the anti-Chopper, though, he just wants to help, where Chopper just wants to murder everybody.
He's the nicest guy in the world. Chopper Chopper has a totally different track. But yeah, we've got to get a little bit more of him. I think we will.
Yes, that's my only ask, Favloni.
Let's give some AZ. Give some AZ some run. All right, well, I think that was it. So we'll continue with episode 3. What did I say it was called again? The Solitary Clone next week.
Yes. So which was we assume is the Crosshairs episode.
I would think it would be Crosshairs. They've got to catch us up on him.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's my point to say, hey, we'll be back next week with more Solitary Clone stuff. Or do we have emails? We have anything else we're going to go into?
No
it looks
mall
like
bags.
We're at the end of the sheet here.
We are at the end of the sheet. No mall bags this week. Again, facpapod@gmail if you'd like to email the show and ask us questions or disagree with our takes or agree with our takes, whatever you would like to do. Please send those in, and you do get entries for our giveaway. And yeah, no Factoid this week. We'll come up with something for next week.
And if anybody else just wants a large nighty to a 2-in-1 shirt, let us know.
Got a couple of them left.
Yeah, we got a couple of the old logos left. So we're happy to send them out. And until then, thanks for listening. And until next time,
So I'm trying to figure out if I should continue my tagline I was using or if I should use one that's more Bad Batch related. And the best thing I could come up with was, good podcasts follow orders.
Oh, I like it.
Terrible.
I like it. Darth Mathias has spoken.